What's up, guys? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. An early one for you this week. We got some Dino Rabbit. If you're interested in Doodle Beast Dinomorphia, I'll have that up on Friday also, so come back and check that out if it interests you. And make sure you subscribe if you like these deck profiles. I'll keep making them. This is a new take on a very old deck. This deck was winning and topping events from 2011 to 2013, and then Rabbit and Tour Guide both went to 1, which kind of ruined the deck completely because you lost all consistency. But basically the main idea is you want to get a Rescue Rabbit and then a copy of Macrocosmos or D-Fissure on the board turn 1, and then hopefully resolve Rescue Rabbit to normal or to special summon 2 of your normal monsters, and then turn those into a control monster like Lagia, which is essentially a summonable Solemn trap card that you detach 2 materials to use. So that would be the idea, and then it's just like an anti-meta, like banish grind deck. So you're not really building any huge combos. If you build a big board, it's because you're spending a few turns doing it. But we'll run through the deck list quick. So we got the triple Rescue Rabbit, so you can banish it to special summon 2 normal monsters with the same name, 2 level 4 normal monsters with the same name from your deck, and that's why we have the triple Cabazols and the triple Megalo Smasher. The reason we're playing Cabazols instead of Sabersaurus is because Sabersaurus is Earth, and we're using the waters so that we have access to Bahamut Shark, and totally awesome. But if you didn't want to play these 2 cards in your extra deck and want to replace it with some other Link monsters or something, for sure you would probably want to play the Sabersaurus just for the extra 200 attack, and then the Megalo Smasher with the 2000 attack there. So that's those 6 cards. And then Skarm is our target for Tour Guide. We pick Skarm over anything else because you're going to overlay with it if you summon it, most likely, meaning you're going to detach it and send it to the graveyard and it'll still get its effect. And then you would be able to search the other Tour Guide, which could then be normal summoned to special summon the 3rd Tour Guide and give you access to another Xyz player, Link player, whatever. So that's the Skarm. And then the triple Tour Guide is for that reason. It just special summons a level 3 Fiend to your field, which you're then going to overlay into most likely Leviair. This thing is super good in this deck. Outside of that, you're really not going to summon this. This is like a backup target for Bahamut Shark if you can resolve it twice or something, but even then you probably would be better off just having the 2nd Totally Awesome. I just wanted to play a couple of the older cards that were in the deck and see how they work. They don't work that well, if you're wondering. Triple Dimension Shifter, just the best hand trap for this deck in particular because the whole deck is built around trying to make your opponent banish monsters when they don't want to or when they can't afford to, and so turn 1 it's like a backup copy of these if you cannot quite get to them, or whatever the case is. And then the 2 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So I like this card a lot in this deck because it's essentially a searcher for either of these 2 cards, and the reason I say that is because its effect is you reveal it in your hand. All of your set spells and traps on the field can't be destroyed, and then if you activate one of your set spells and traps, you can special summon this card, and if you do that, he can search a spell or trap from your deck and set it, at which point you would have to banish that card during the end phase of the next turn, so it'd be your opponent's turn. But what that means is you can search a Dimension Fissure and then activate it, or search a Macrocosmos and then on your opponent's turn activate it, and then you have that Macrocosmos up for their turn, which is kind of in the similar vein of Dimension Shifter, where you're just trying to like keep your play style on board until you can get to the main like big hitter Floodgates. And then for our spells, we got Double Pot of Acquisitiveness and triple Pot of Prosperity for our draw power. Prosperity is pretty straightforward. Banish 3 or 6 out of your extra deck, look at 3 or 6 from the top of your deck, grab what you need, and then put the rest back. This is just going to be, if you have the Rabbit and not one of these, you just grab the one you're missing. If you don't have either, I would say if you're going first, you likely want to grab this because it's going to be able to shut your opponent down a little bit better than whatever you're going to make off of this. But if you don't have either, you're in a bad spot and you're probably losing anyway. The Acquisitiveness is interesting. So target 3 banished monsters, shovel all 3 into the deck and draw a card. So this is like really the only good card that we have access to that can put banished monsters back in the deck. The reason that matters is, apart from the draw 1, which is always nice, Rescue Rabbit can get recycled by Leviair from the banish zone after you use its effect. And so if you have a way of putting some of your normal monsters back in the deck so that you can keep using that Rescue Rabbit to make rank 4s, having access to that is cool. Also just being able to, pretty much anything, putting back any of your material stuff that you can use to make further plays, because this is going to be more of a grinding deck. Just seemed like a good idea to me. Then we got the triple D Fissure. one of the main pieces of the deck. This is an interesting one. So this is a new card, Spellbound. I think it came out in Darkwing Blast. So it's essentially Dimensional Barrier, but it's a quick play spell card, and then it doesn't have the negate effect that Dimensional Barrier has. So basically, Barrier you would get to pick, you know, Xyz, Synchro, or Fusion, or whatever. They can't summon that type that turn, and then it negates monsters of that type already on the field. This one, your opponent just can't use any of their monsters that they currently control for a tribute summon or as material for a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link summon, so it even covers Link. It's got a little bit more of a drawback by being monsters they currently control, so they could just summon some more. But ideally, you'd be doing something similar to how you would handle like a Nibiru, where you're going to wait for them to fill up the board with stuff that they need to use for those summons, flip your Spellbound, and then they all just have to sit there and they can't do anything with them. That would be the idea. If you're not down with that, you could just stick with that Dimensional Barrier. But I've been wanting to play this card because it's got really cool artwork, so I tried this out instead. Then we got the Double Dark Ruler No More, just a shutting off effects board breaker type of thing. If you end up going second, it's a good card. It's just a pretty good card as is. It also could technically be used as a like a forced search off of your Lord of the Heavenly Prison, which any of these normal spells could be. So if you wanted to really force that search to get to one of these, you would just set that, activate the Lord of the Heavenly Prison, then activate. Hopefully you're not just burning the effect for no reason, so you get the effect of the card, get the search, and yeah, so that's why I opted for this over something like a Forbidden Droplet. Triple Macrocosmos because it's very good. Triple Solemn Judgment, it's just a great kind of say no to everything card. We already play the 2 summonable ones in the extra deck, so we might as well play 3 more. If you wanted to play Strikes instead, I could see that making sense, especially we don't got the Called By in the main deck, so the Strikes might be a little bit something extra to protect you from some hand traps, but figure the one Called By is not going to be what makes or breaks us. Well, that's not true. It will 100% be what breaks you if you get hand trapped in this deck, but I figured I'm just going for it, and I'm not worried about that. Double Compulse, bounce stuff back to the hand. You just want to be able to interrupt some plays. Double Deprison, when they attack, target the attacking monster and banish it, so just more banishing. This is kind of an old and outdated trap card, but it was a big one in the original version of the deck, so I wanted to play it in this one too. You probably could switch this out for something else that you'd rather have. For the extra deck, Double Logia, Double Dolka. These are like the original Dino Rabbit like cards. Logia is the better one for sure. When a monster will be normal or special summoned, or a spell or trap card is activated, detach 2 materials from this card, negate the summoner activation, and destroy it. So like I said, it's like a solemn. Dolka, when another monster effect is activated, you can detach 1 material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. So it just prevents monster effects, not the spells and traps, but still a good card. The one Baguska, just because he's like a really powerful stall card, which may or may not matter, but we're really trying to take advantage of our Floodgates and let the opponent try to like have to sit in that banishing. If you're playing against a deck that benefits from banishing, then this deck is just not going to do well. So yeah, the one Dweller to shut off graveyard effects for the earlier game, or if they happen to out your banish outlet. We still want to be able to control the banish and graveyard if we can. The one Emerald, this thing could be something else. So target 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 in the deck and draw a card, or target 1 non-effect monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. So this would be like a late game type of thing where you're either trying to put some resources back in your deck, or you're going to special summon out like your Megalo Smasher, so then you have another 2000 attack beater on board. It's not as good anymore, but it's a cool card. The one Bahamut Shark, that's why we play the Kabazils and the Megalo Smashers, to have access to the Totally Awesome. I could definitely see you playing the second Totally Awesome instead of the 17. The 17 and the Full Armor Black Ray Lancer are because you can resolve this effect twice. So you could first turn resolve for Toad, second turn resolve for the Leviathan Dragon, which then has no material and meets the requirements for Full Armor Lancer to just overlay on top of that. And then this guy, if he would be destroyed, you can just detach all of his materials instead. And then if he destroys a monster by battle, you can target a spell or a trap your opponent controls and destroy that target. So it's just a little bit of back row removal, although it's pretty convoluted, and he's only a 2100 body if you've used his effect to protect him. So probably not super realistic to expect that to happen a whole lot, but if you control the board well enough and you're shutting off their extra deck summons with that Spellbound, it's very likely that you could pull it off. So then Double Levier, so this thing is a beast in this deck. It's the reason we're playing Tour Guide. So Levier can detach one to special summon one of your banished level 4 or lower monsters to your side of the field. And like I mentioned earlier, Rescue Rabbit can be recycled, so you can turn 1 Rescue Rabbit, make your Lagia, turn 2 Tour Guide, pull out your Scarm, overlay for Lagia, detach Scarm, get your Rescue Rabbit back, banish the Rescue Rabbit, special summon your Megalo Smashers, make a whatever you want, a Bahamut, Shark, and Toad, and then end phase Scarm, search your Tour Guide. So this thing is just a beast in this deck. It just recycles your main like win condition, so 2 seemed necessary. And you can also make 2 pretty easily with the... you're going to have access to both sets of your level 3s once you have 1 set. So once you have 1 Tour Guide, the Scarm gets you access to the other 2, and so it's pretty easy to make 2 of them. And then we got a couple Link monsters in here. Nightmare Phoenix Pop back row, Nightmare Unicorn to bounce stuff off the board. You could probably, cut some of this, cut these 2 for the extra Toad, and then put, the Cerberus and maybe another bigger Link monster in here, because you will build up material over a turn or 2 that you could then use to link summon into something big. I just wanted to explore a little bit more of the Xyz options this time, just kind of the original old school-ish way of building the deck, so that's why this looks like this right now. But that'll wrap it up for this deck profile here. Once again, we'll be back here on Friday with Dino Morphia Doodle Beast, the Doodle Morphia deck. Subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. I'm going to have deck profiles out at least once a week for sure. Every now and then I get inspired and I got to have another one out, so here you go. Thank you guys for hanging out with me again. Happy deck building, and I'll see you in the next one.